Brilliance Audio presents Bad Memory by Lisa Gray. Performed by Amy Landon. Jessica Shaw had been in town for only 6 months. Not long, but long enough to know the car didn't belong there. It had been parked on the other side of the highway, about 80 yards east of the small detective agency where she worked, when she'd taken a stroll to Randy's for lunch with her boss, Ed Crozier. The car hadn't budged an inch by the time they'd returned a half-hour later, and it was still there in late afternoon when she had stepped outside the front door for a smoke. Metallic blue. 5 doors. Some sort of family sedan. Sun glinting off the windshield. The driver's side sun visor pulled down so that whoever was behind the wheel was shielded from view. Not a particularly ostentatious vehicle, but too fancy for 100 acres, that was for sure. Then there was the license plate screwed to the front fender. Too far away to make out any individual digits, but Jessica could see the plate had dark lettering embossed on a turquoise, orange, and white gradient backdrop. Not the kind of car to have specialty plates, and definitely not the blue on white of regular California plates, so Jessica figured the driver was from out of state. In any case, she knew most of the cars in town by now. Maybe not who drove each and every one of them, but she definitely recognized the majority by sight. One of the bonuses of working out of a shopfront set back just off the main highway. The agency's big picture window faced north, framing a view of flat yellow scrub that stretched for miles on the other side of the 2-lane highway, the scrubland empty, save for the occasional electric pylon. Some mountains far off in the distance. Not much to look at other than the traffic. The unfamiliar vehicles were almost always just passing through. Short and long-haul freight trucks, pickups, station wagons, 2-seaters, all using the 100 Acres Highway as a bypass of the Los Angeles metropolitan area on their way to and from Sin City. Unlike them, Jessica was going nowhere. At least for the time being. She had spent most of her life and the first 5 years of her career as a private investigator in New York. Following the sudden and unexpected death of her father, Jessica had sold their home and taken to the road, leaving the Big Apple behind for good. She'd moved from town to town, case to case, happy to go wherever the work took her. Then, last year, an investigation in Eagle Rock, a neighborhood in northeast Los Angeles, had gotten way too personal, and Jessica had been lucky to come out of it alive. She had been working a missing persons case in Josephine County, just over the state line in Oregon, when the New York State Division of Licensing Services finally caught up with her. Her PI license was up for renewal, and they weren't going to rubber stamp another 2 years while she was out of state. Her old boss, Larry Lutz, had covered for her as best he could while she was on the road. But even he could do nothing about the headlines that had followed the events in Eagle Rock, and that had alerted the DLS to the fact that she had been operating outside of her jurisdiction. Returning to New York simply wasn't an option for Jessica, and so her days as an investigator appeared to be numbered. Then, Jason Price, an LAPD detective who had known her father, suggested an alternative to waiting tables or finding bar work. A friend of a friend owned a small detective agency in 100 Acres, a desert community in the Antelope Valley, 60 miles north of L.A. She could help out veteran gumshoe Ed Crozier while her application for a California PI license was pending. Then the state, if not the world, would be her oyster. "California's a big place," Price had pointed out. "Plenty of room to roam." Jessica powered down her laptop now and began to gather her stuff. Ed had left an hour earlier to take care of some business in the next town. She knew the only business he was taking care of was a quick shower and shave before catching the end of happy hour at Rubens over in Shady Bluff. In his 60s and a widower for the last 5 years, Ed was determined to grow old disgracefully and had no intention of slowing down any time soon.